Player's Choice, Platinum Hits, PlayStation Hits, Nintendo Select, Sega All-Stars. They all aim to sell you games at a low price of around $20 instead of the usual $60. When a popular game has been on the market for some time, video game companies often reprint it so that they can continue to sell more copies. The origins of Player's Choice dates back to 1996 on the SNES and Game Boy. Although they were not the first to have this grand idea of reselling video games at lower price, they definitely popularized it. These games were reduced to only $20 opposed to the usual $60 that most SNES games were going for back then. Games under Player's Choice had their covers altered slightly by having the Super Nintendo logo be gold instead of the usual red, and the addition of a gold ribbon that reiterated how this was in fact a Player's Choice edition. Only a year after Nintendo, Sony introduced its line of budget re-releases. It went by the name of Greatest Hits. Their pricing for the games on this brand name was initially $25, but later on they dropped the price down to only $20, most likely to compete with Nintendo's offerings. Sony also had a requirement for games to become part of Greatest Hits. Opposed how Nintendo just chose game out of their million seller hat and called it a day. That requirement being that the game would have to sell at least 150,000 copies, later changed to 250,000 copies in its first year of being on the market. Something else that was unique about Sony's budget re-releases was that some games were altered when they became part of Greatest Hits. For example, when Devil May Cry 3 was planned to be re-released as part of Greatest Hits, they had decided to include the special edition of the game rather than the original. Sony's budget re-release had altered the cover in the form of changing the PlayStation header from black to a bright green. Sega also dipped its toes in the budget re-release idea, going by the name of Sega All-Stars. The Sega All-Stars rebranding of games began on August 22nd, 2000. Once again, these were sold at $20 instead of $60. Due to the Dreamcast's short lifespan, only 17 games are part of this budget series, most of them being sports games, although there were a few outliers. The cover wasn't changed all too much, only having the Dreamcast header changed to a bright orange color. Microsoft was the last to join in on adding their own budget line to their console, due to the fact that Xbox is the most recent addition to the console market. That was successful. Their line of budget titles went by the name Platinum Hits, and it was implemented sometime after the initial launch of the original Xbox. Platinum Hits had multiple classifications. The first classification included games that sold very well during their first 9 months on the market. This is the main Platinum Hits that everyone thinks of when it's brought up. The second classification included games that are already part of Platinum Hits, but these games appealed towards families and were typically rated E. This went by the name of Platinum Family Hits. The last classification included games that are part of both Platinum Hits and Platinum Family Hits, but they were the best of the best. According to who? I don't know. This one by the name of Best of Platinum Family Hits, and only 3 games were given this prestigious title: Sims, Shrek 2, and Madagascar. Clearly, only the best of the best. One of the worst parts about Microsoft's Platinum Hits is how much it affects the box art. Like, god damn, they couldn't have made it any more obvious that you own the Platinum Hits version of the game, since they made the entire case silver. Now I'll be moving on to how every budget series from each of the big console manufacturers has changed and or stayed the same over the years since the first release of the budget re-releases. Starting off with Nintendo. Yeah, Nintendo kinda did away with their budget line of re-releases when moving on to the Switch. It was last seen on Wii U and 3DS, going by the new name of Nintendo Selects. Yeah, so also Nintendo had dropped the name of Player's Choice and instead opted for Nintendo Selects. This new name was rolled out on the Wii on May 5th, 2011, with the first games featured here being The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, Animal Crossing City Folk, Mario Super Sluggers, and Wii Sports. It still had the same idea behind Player's Choice, just with a new name. However, Nintendo Selects are notably missing now on Nintendo's latest console. Instead of prices being dropped permanently for $20, games on Switch are now reduced by $5, maybe $10 on a good day, and only during the holidays like Christmas or Black Friday. Personally, I don't think they'll bring back Nintendo Selects on the Switch, mainly due to the fact that they know they could get away with selling a lackluster game for $60 and still receive amazing sales despite the fact. But hey, who knows, they might have a change of heart and decide to reintroduce Nintendo Selects back on the Switch. As for Sony, They stuck with their branding of greatest hits for a long time, up until the 8th generation of consoles, when they renamed it to PlayStation Hits. Something I really liked about Sony's budget re-releases is that ever since the PS2, they stuck with this red casing for all the re-releases, and something about it is just so pleasing to look at. Like, yes, it sticks out like a sore thumb compared to the rest of the PlayStation cases, but on its own it looks so good. Better yet, it's so incredibly satisfying. We have nothing but them in a collection. The PS5 has yet to get PlayStation Hits re-releases, but that's probably because the consoles have only been out for less than 2 years. I expect that once the PS5 has reached the midpoint of its lifespan, Nintendo will move PlayStation Hits onto PS5 games. After Microsoft went crazy with Platinum Hits during the 6th and 7th generations, it's surprising that they calmed down with the Xbox One, only including about 30 games this time around. Microsoft also followed Nintendo and Sony's footsteps by renaming their budget re-releases, this time going by the name of Greatest Hits instead of Platinum Hits. Wait, where have I heard that name before? It's not like a certain competitor of Xbox has used that name for 3 generations of consoles. Yeah, so apparently, as soon as Sony dropped the name of Greatest Hits in favor of PlayStation Hits, Xbox was there to pick it right back up. You know, this isn't that big of a deal since now Microsoft doesn't have to ruin the box art so much, just to remind you that you had the Platinum Hits version. Again, as stated with the PS5, Microsoft has yet to release a new budget series on the Xbox Series X/S since it hasn't been on the market for that long, but I do predict that they will bring it back around the middle of its lifespan. Last, but certainly not least, we return to Sega, where they were last seen with Sega All-Stars on the Dreamcast. But now oh god, what the hell happened here?